Guess who's dating again after her breakup and trying to trust people, but it's hard. So let's talk about it. How do you have faith after a breakup where it felt like a betrayal, or it felt like somebody really, really blindsided you, bait and switched you, did something where you have a hard time trusting people again? Before I get into it, make sure you subscribe. I could be the only constant in your life. Look how consistent I've been over the past week. If you don't know, go and look. I've posted literally every day. Literally every day, mate. It's a habit now. Make sure you subscribe, share, send to a friend. It really helps me out. Now, let's talk about dating after a breakup and when you're having a really hard time trusting people the way I am right now. So, first things first, I don't think that it's a bad thing for me to not be trusting for a little while. I actually think that's okay. And I think trying to erode that barrier would be doing myself a disservice. To be like, no, it doesn't make any sense for you to have walls up. Just take them down. Would be almost like trivializing my experience. And I think it's okay for me to take a longer time warming up to people, because maybe as a Pisces, I'm a little bit too, not willy-nilly in love. It's not like I just easily trust people at all. But if somebody shows up for me consistently for 3 months, I guess if somebody shows up for me consecutively for a certain amount of time, I am inclined to believe what they're saying. Or at least I was. I'm not sure if I can fully do that anymore. Right now I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, so I've been burned a bunch of times. When am I going to learn? It needs to be now. You know what I mean? What is the space between keeping your wall up to keep yourself safe and being too pushy, pushing people away, and being too emotionally closed off from people? Well, personally, I think that I lean towards maybe needing to be more skeptical. So I think it's okay for me to be extra skeptical, and that's coming from someone who I actually think I have pretty good dating discernment compared to most people out here. Most people, the way they date, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. And yet still, I think that when somebody gains my trust, then I trust them. And I completely let them into my emotional world. And I think that that can't happen for a very long time. And I think that that just needs to be okay. You know what I mean? And I am not in the place to feel like I can let every last emotional wall down with someone right now, because quite frankly, I do not trust people. I was gonna say, I don't trust people. I have this issue both in relationships, romantically and platonic right now. I'm very skeptical of people's intentions. Not my current friends, but in meeting new people and forming new friendships, I am going to be keeping in mind, and relationships, I am going to be keeping in mind going forward just how burnt I got. And I'm realizing spending time alone is not only good for me, but it's also a creatively noble act to spend time alone, because that's the only time you can create anything worth legacy, is a lot of times if you're alone, and really, really taking time to dive into yourself and quiet away from the world. And that comes from a lot of artists and writers and things like that. I know, just because I literally just researched this because I was interested in it, and how solitude affects the psyche, the creative body as well, and apparently very well. So that's good. And that kind of also tells me that a lot of socializing and the way we've been taught to see it is very much informed by capitalism, informed by society, informed by things that aren't necessarily to your benefit at all times. I digress, for real. When it comes to dating, so one thing that's true for me is And one thing that I guess was good about this last relationship is that I realized that my type is not my type. What I thought was my type is not my type. And I need to make a whole video on that, but I still haven't even made the official breakup video because I'm just like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like, I will talk about details because I think that it's good for me to even have it down for myself. And also for you to know, because I like to share. I do like to share. I just like hate reliving it, and I have been reliving it because I have been sad about it because I really liked this person. I had actual serious feelings for this person. I wasn't at all forcing myself to like this person. I was like, wow, this feels like home. Boo! 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 Look, boo! Okay? Like, I hate how much I liked him. And I hate that I sometimes still think about it. And I try to remember the things that I did not like. And that's part of how I do that. But mostly I just remember, like, you had no choice in this. I had no choice. It wasn't about me at all. There's nothing I could have done. I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't about me. So I can't just, like, there's something, he's like, I think he might be like a sociopath, but I'm not a doctor. Okay? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. And I'm not in a relationship. So. I digress. He was, you guys, this is gonna sound lame. But let me think of a way to not make it sound lame. I have been dating Black men my whole life because that's who liked me and I liked them back. And I was like, great, this is easy and I don't need to feel a lot of rejection from these other types of men who I don't know if they date Black women. And then I have to get rejected and feel really awful about myself and my life. So I think from a very young age, I just kind of subconsciously was like, well, they like me, I like them, that's easy, bing, bang, boom, that's my type. This man was like, well, he wasn't just white. His parents are immigrants and they were like European, but he was spicy white, let's say. And I never have dated a white person, a spicy white person, any kind of white person before. So it was new for me because I think subconsciously, especially because I grew up in a white town where people made it very clear oftentimes that, like, they were not into me. They didn't like the way I looked. We get it, Rachel and friends. And Kyle. The Rachels and the Kyles made it very clear that they don't like my curly hair, that blah, 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 making songs about Afro, all this BS, okay? So coming from that world of, like, associating sort of white people looking at me in regards to how attractive I am with rejection, I wasn't eager to revisit that particular playground, okay? So it took a very long time for me to even be open-minded to it, I think, in the way where I was like, well, am I not going to get burned here? Like, I feel like I'm going to get burned. And so, and not to say that I didn't get burned, because I did get burned, but not because he was white. You know, like, and this is why I'm saying it sounds lame to say this was the first white person I dated, and it made me realize that what I thought was my very specific type is maybe not necessarily my specific type, and maybe really, really, like, yes, it's good to have culture, but you can relate on different kinds of culture, and I don't need to put that limitation on myself. It's not that I need to now seek out a different kind of person, because quite frankly, I still date whoever I date, right? But I'm more open-minded now in a way that I was not before, because before I was like, I'm going to probably end up with a Black person, very likely a Black man. And then I was like, I'm going to end up with a woman of color. And then I was like, no, I think I'm going to end up with a Black man. And now I'm like, well, who knows? And maybe that's enough of a who knows? Just who knows? Because I really, really enjoyed our time together. Like, I guess I can look at it like that. And then he just was psychotic, sociopathic, whatever. I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor. But yeah, like, unfortunately so I've now had 2 relationships where there was a time where I was like, this is great. I love this. This is exactly what I wanted. And one was in the pandemic with one of my longest ex, who I still view as a good relationship. I learned a lot in that relationship. It was a good relationship, even though there was things about it that whatever. And then even though this relationship was so short, and this is something that it's both annoying, but I can't tell if it's a net positive or whatever, is like, I would say I guess it's a net positive, but I don't know if it's like sort of like oppressive to myself to try and force myself to think like that. Like, oh, was this pain worth it? Like, it's a little bit almost oppressive to like be forcing yourself to think like that. You know what I mean? Like, to make your labor like be a 2-for-1. That might have been a bar, if it made any sense. So I had a time in this relationship where I felt like everything was perfect and exactly what I wanted from a relationship. And that has not happened to me in most of my relationships or situationships. Most of them, there has not been that time. There has been there's something there, but I wish. There's always been a but I wish. And there was a time there where I was just like, wow, I feel so lucky and just like, this is amazing. And so now I'm like, is anything real? Because that felt really real. That felt really real. And then, poof, gone. Gone. And why? Because he decided he needed to be alone. Out of thin air, like it never existed. How am I supposed to trust people again? Like, especially after what's happened with my friendships lately, it's like, how do you go ahead and trust anyone? And so where I'm at right now, to be completely honest with you, is I don't right now. I don't. I have like a skeptical optimism of like, I'm optimistic that one day I could be optimistic. And I'm honest enough to know that right now, I just feel like, and it's not to think that everybody's a bad person. That's not it at all. It's more like, I don't think that I can like physically, mentally invest a lot of expectation. Like, I can have standards, but maybe not as much in expectation land. And like, maybe I really need to allow people to prove things to me like time and time and time again until they exhaust themselves and I'm exhausted of watching them be so there for me without other kinds of commitment or something. I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have to force myself to like unravel all this jadedness right now to like let people in. Like, what if people just like really have to work their way in from now on? What then? Is that a bad move? Maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody else, I'm so used to people giving up on me. What if I just gave up on everyone? And then you're like, no, but I shouldn't do that. But it's like, and I don't want to give up on love and blah, blah, blah. But maybe I should, and maybe that's what people say, oh, when are you least expected, and maybe whatever. I don't know. Like, and I think because I am me, like, I'm always gonna have, like, a belief in possibility of things. So, I don't know. I think it's okay to be skeptical, but to also know that everybody's different and that the universe has all different kinds of beings in store for you. And like, you never know when you can meet somebody who will actually mean something for a longer period of time. And unfortunately, I think you have to surrender to it and take it as it comes, because you can't, at the same time, you can't just be like skeptical. Like, you can be skeptical, but you can't just be like negative about it for the rest of your life. And that's what I'm trying to not do. But part of that is like being honest with where I'm at now, which is like a little bit, I need some emotional distance probably for a while. Like I'm like, and the good thing about me is I feel no pressure for a timeline, really. Like I'm like, I bet I could have a kid at 38. And by that I mean like 35, but like anecdotally 38, not anecdotally, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say though. I believe that it's possible that I could have a kid till I'm 40. My mom had me when she was 32, so I know that I have like a decent lifespan for that kind of thing. It's not happening anytime soon, and neither is marriage. And the more people piss me off, the further that deadline gets. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching. And no, I'm just kidding. But let me know your thoughts on this, because I would like some advice if you think I'm being really cynical. Do you think okay. So what I would like to do from now on, if I can remember, is to like end with some questions, like response questions. Like, you know, when you read a chapter and then it's like, here's some questions. These are my questions to you, but they're like literally for my benefit. But they also, I guess they do kind of like engage you with the material, but it's really for me. Do you think I'm being extra cynical? Like too much? Somebody's gonna say just don't date. And my response to that is, I have a fun time doing it when I'm very disconnected. Not disconnected, but like detached. That's the word. When I'm not attached to it. Like I'm not like, oh, I needed to be in a relationship. It's like fun when you're in that spot, and that's where I am right now. So I don't really need to hear that, though I understand why it might be your impetus. I'm curious if people think that if I sound extra negative, or if my viewpoint on this is negative, or if it's pretty realistic and just like honest. And how you trust people again. How do you trust people again after a breakup? Do you even, you know? Or do you kind of just have this cautious, like, your walls are up always, but you're just like, maybe someone will make me want to bring my walls down. That's kind of like what I would imagine a lot of people do. Anyways, please, if you have the time, let me know a response to that question in the comments, and I will see you next time, which is going to be tomorrow. So you should subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you know when I post. Thank you. I love you. Goodbye.